Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 991 of NoDQ Video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. You know what that means. Just 9 more episodes until episode number 1000, which takes place on August 16th. Make sure you spread the word, tell a friend about NoDQ Video. Thank you guys so much for your support. Now, I got a lot of topics to cover today. We're coming off Monday Night Raw as the road to SummerSlam continues. So let's get down to your questions. First one comes from Kyle Mitchell. Hey Aaron, with the new stipulation being added to SummerSlam, could you see Brock Lesnar losing so he can focus on his UFC return? That is what WWE wants you to think. And I think that this was a great idea by WWE to add this stipulation where if Brock Lesnar loses the Universal title, him and Paul Heyman will both leave WWE. If I was WWE, I would do the same exact thing. I would take advantage of the situation. There's all this talk now about Brock Lesnar leaving, doing another UFC fight. My gut feeling is that it's just being done to add intrigue to the SummerSlam match. I could see Brock Lesnar retaining the title. Keep in mind, Lesnar is scheduled for the September No Mercy pay-per-view in Los Angeles, so he's not going anywhere. Plus, his contract doesn't expire until the spring. Brock Lesnar is still going to be around. Now, it's possible he could be written out of storylines and return in time for WrestleMania, but as I mentioned in a previous video, I do not think WWE will let Lesnar fight before his contract expires. If Lesnar fights again, I think it's going to be after WrestleMania. And for all we know, he hasn't even re-entered the drug testing pool. And he has to do that for another 6 months before his suspension is up. I think it's 5 months actually. But the soonest he could fight right now, if he was back in the drug testing pool, would be December. And I do not think WWE will allow that because if Lesnar got seriously hurt, that could jeopardize WrestleMania, and WWE is paying Brock Lesnar the big bucks to be part of the major shows, especially WrestleMania. My feeling is Lesnar will either retain at SummerSlam or he'll lose and they'll do some sort of angle, but I think it's more likely he retains. I think that this stipulation is being done just to take advantage of all the speculation and the fans wondering if Lesnar is leaving or not. And I like it. I think it definitely makes that main event even more compelling now. You never know. There's that old saying, anything can happen in WWE. I'm curious to know what's going to happen, and that's what WWE wants. They want me to think that. They want everyone watching to think that, not knowing what to expect at the pay-per-view. This one comes from Garrison Mendez. Does Royal Rumble winning... I just said Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns winning last night mean that he will not win at SummerSlam? And with Lesnar teasing leaving WWE, who's your current pick to win? Right now, I'm leaning towards Brock Lesnar to retain the title. I think that Roman Reigns winning on Raw could be a sign that he is not going to win at SummerSlam. I could see Joe as a possible candidate to win. I actually got a suggestion on Twitter about maybe Paul Heyman turning on Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, there being a big swerve, and Heyman joining up with Samoa Joe. I really like that idea, and that would be interesting because Paul Heyman would double-cross Lesnar and cause Lesnar to be out of WWE. That would be really interesting, and then Lesnar could come back, they could work that into the storyline. But I always talked about this idea that when Lesnar is close to the end of his deal with WWE, having him and Heyman split. I think that should happen at some point. I think Paul Heyman's character, being the sleazeball that he is, as soon as he sees Brock Lesnar perhaps being a thing of the past, he'll jump ship to the next guy. That seems to be what Paul Heyman's character would do. So I think at some point you have Heyman double-cross Brock Lesnar for business reasons. He feels Lesnar's washed up and he's moving on to the next guy. Samoa Joe could be that guy. I would really like that storyline. I think that that would be an awesome swerve for SummerSlam. And then Lesnar comes back for his rematch. Kurt Angle reinstates him, or who knows what's going to happen, because right now there's no official contract or anything. WWE might do this where Lesnar agrees to that term that he'll leave if he loses. It's just a verbal thing right now. So they could just do something where Heyman double crosses Lesnar and then Lesnar comes back for his revenge at the No Mercy pay-per-view against Samoa Joe. It's really interesting to see what happens. There's a lot of different ways WWE can go with this, and I think it's a compelling storyline for SummerSlam. I think it's the one really compelling storyline they have. Honestly, the rest of the card at this point, I could take it or leave it, but I think the main event is really strong with a good build-up with this storyline. And at the end of the day, that's the most important storyline, is the main event, and they're firing on all cylinders with this one up to this point. We'll see if the momentum continues. Got this one here from Tyler Joseph Smith. Jason Jordan definitely needs some work on the mic. That Miz TV wasn't great and his theme song is awful. Your thoughts? I totally agree. That theme song, first of all, was horrible. It sounded like something GFW would come up with. If Jason Jordan had jumped ship to GFW, they would come up with this generic knockoff of American Alpha. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like a TNA/GFW theme. Awful. Who came up with that? I cannot believe that was Jim Johnston, and even CFOs, they've come up with some really good songs. That one is definitely a stinker. And I've said this before, I think the total package is important. I think you need to have a guy who not only is good in the ring, but good on the mic and has a good look, good entrance music, good lighting for his entrance, pyro, even though pyro's gone now. I think the entrance theme is really important. I think a lousy entrance theme can break somebody, just like I think a good entrance theme can make somebody. Perfect example, Bobby Roode. So yeah, that's a big problem. The theme song was horrible, and he really showed no personality in that segment. Miz carried it. It was totally the Miz making that segment. Jordan was just there. He was very monotone with his talking and really showed very little emotion. And he needs work on the mic, definitely, and with his character development. I think they need to turn him heel. That seems to be what he needs at this point in order to really get his career going and moving his career in the right direction. This one comes from Shaun T Flick. What did you think of Jason Jordan, or what do you think of Jason Jordan winning the IC title from The Miz at SummerSlam, then starting a feud with Big Cass? Again, I think Jason Jordan needs to go heel as soon as possible. It's looking like Jordan versus The Miz at SummerSlam. I'd have some sort of shenanigans. I mean, I'd have Jason Jordan perhaps cheat to win, even though The Miz is a heel, and The Miz does a great job as a heel. I think you need to go with Jordan as a heel and do this storyline where Angle and Jordan are in cahoots, and maybe tease that they're in cahoots for the longest time, and then either reveal that they were in cahoots, or Jordan was faking the whole son thing to begin with to get his foot in the door and reach the next step in WWE. They need to do something. As far as Jordan versus Big Cass, again, with Big Cass as a heel, I think Jordan should be turning heel and facing babyface characters. I think that Jordan versus Big Cass is a mismatch at this point. Both of them need somebody who's really good to help take them to the next level. Both of them are still green, and I think it would be a mistake to put them against each other. You need Cass in there with a guy who's a veteran who can put him over and make him look good, and same thing for Jordan. So right now I think that's a mismatch. This one comes from B. Hill. Man, that last hour of Raw was terrible. Just Elias? Cass and Show is the main event? Triple threat in hour 2? What is going on? I agree with you on all that. As far as Elias Sampson goes, now that he's just Elias, we've seen this before with Neville and Cesaro, whatever. Doesn't really bother me that much, but I was very perplexed as to why WWE put that triple threat match at the end of the second hour. I guess WWE's just given up on trying to make the third hour special, and because of the fact that the second hour is typically the most watched hour of the three and the rating drops as the show goes on, WWE just decided not to bother this week And I would be surprised, I mean, this video might go up by the time the ratings are out, but I would be surprised if that third hour doesn't take a pretty big hit. There was really no good reason to watch. I mean, Big Cass versus Big Show, why stay up late for that? And the women's match was just a throwaway, just filler. I could see a lot of people just tuning out after that triple threat match. It'll be interesting to see what the rating is for the show, but I don't get it. Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman, 3 of your top stars, they should be in the main event every week. I don't get it. This one comes from Big Ryan. Hey Aaron, what do you think of Big Cass's new music? I guess WWE realized it sucked. Okay, I am a bit confused here. Did they change his music? Because it sounded exactly the same to me, but that just goes to show how bad the original theme was. Apparently they did change it, but I'm not really sure. It sounded like the same generic theme to me. I've seen people debate which is worse, Cass's theme or Jason Jordan's new theme. I think they're both equally horrible. I would say Big Cass's theme is perhaps even worse because I don't even have any remote idea of what it sounds like. At least with Jordan's theme, it sounds like some watered down version of American Alpha's theme, or maybe a knockoff of Apollo Crews' theme. Big Cass's theme, I have no idea what it even sounds like. So yeah, same thing as what I said about Jason Jordan. Theme music is important in my opinion. I think it can make or break a character, and they need to come up with something better for him. These new theme songs the last couple months, who is responsible for these songs? And speaking of theme songs, while I'm on the topic, what was the deal with Seth Rollins' theme song on Raw? They just added Burn It to the Ground or Burn It Down at the beginning, just somebody screaming that randomly at the beginning of the song. Why not just use that band that does Dolph Ziggler's theme and Cody Rhodes' theme? Why not just use that theme as Seth Rollins' new entrance music? I think it's way better than his current song, so I don't get why WWE hasn't gone with the new song. But whatever. I think that song would help Rollins get over more as a babyface, but what do I know? This one comes from Michael. Your thoughts on combining Night of Champions and the Elimination Chamber into one pay-per-view, every title defended inside the chamber? Not really a fan of it. Here's the thing. I believe that WWE should just do one Elimination Chamber match on a pay-per-view. Make it special. Just like the Royal Rumble, I say stick to one match. You know, I would not be a fan of WWE doing a women's Royal Rumble on top of a men's Royal Rumble. I just think it's overkill. It waters down the stipulation and makes it feel less special. So with Elimination Chamber, I'd like to just see one match. Doing a whole pay-per-view of that, that's why I was never a fan of the TNA Lockdown pay-per-views where they did every match in the cage. I felt it just really watered down the cage match. It made it less special. The cage match is supposed to be settling a feud, and I think with Elimination Chamber, I like the idea of it being an alternate to the Royal Rumble, where the Rumble winner gets the title shot at one brand's title, and then Elimination Chamber, you do it in February, the winner of that gets the other title shot. I just like that format. I think it's a good format to do, and I would just stick to that. I like the idea of every now and then maybe changing up Elimination Chamber, having it be for a different championship. That's fine, but doing multiple matches and what you suggested, doing like a whole pay-per-view of that with all the titles, I think that would get very old. I would not be a fan of that. This one comes from Resident Sleeper 22. Why does WWE put pay-per-view caliber matches on TV and TV caliber matches on pay-per-view? Becky versus Charlotte was wasted on Smackdown. The easy answer is that we are in the $9.99 network era and WWE can get away with it. WWE can do whatever they want. If WWE wants people tuning into Smackdown, they'll give away a big match. If WWE wants people tuning into a network special, they'll put something big on the network special. It's not like the past where fans were paying $50 for a pay-per-view. If WWE was doing this 5 years ago, it would be a very bad business decision. You look at WCW. WCW would give away high-profile matches for free because of Eric Bischoff's ego and Bischoff wanting to compete with Vince on Monday nights. Hogan versus Goldberg, for instance, had the potential to be one of the biggest pay-per-view buy rates of all time, but instead WCW gave away that match for free. I think that even today, though, it's better to slowly build up towards a high-profile match. I think that there's the potential to make more money, because if you build up to a big match that fans are wanting to see and have the desire to see, then make them wait for it. Get them more invested and more engaged in the storyline. And if you do that, you have that potential to make more money in other areas, like merchandising and going to live events. I just think it's a better business practice. Even though times have changed, I still think it's a good idea to slowly build up to big pay-per-view matches rather than just give them away for free with no story build-up. I just think it's a better practice in the long run. This one comes from Matt Big. Hey Aaron, what was the best thing about ECW for you? I would say the simple fact that ECW was very innovative and ECW changed the game. ECW forced WCW and WWE to get with the times. Prior to ECW, wrestling was very cartoonish and fans were starting to get tired of it. Fans wanted change. ECW brought that change. ECW was to wrestling what grunge was to music. It really changed the entire industry and took things in a new direction. That's what ECW did. ECW was very edgy, and it forced the other companies to start changing and going in a different direction and making wrestling in the long haul more popular than it had ever been before. And I'm hopeful that one day we will see another ECW. It's not going to be like ECW, it's going to be different. Somebody out there will have this vision that nobody else sees and will take wrestling to a whole new level of popularity, perhaps close to as big as the Attitude Era. I think it will happen someday. It might not happen anytime soon, but one day somebody with a vision that is fresh will come up with something that nobody's been thinking about and will make wrestling popular like it was back in the late 90s, and we will see a new renaissance, so to speak, in wrestling. This one comes from Turbonius. What was the point of AJ Styles dropping the US title only to regain it on SmackDown Live? That is a great question, and we still really don't know a definitive answer. There have been different theories out there. There's one theory that the finish was botched, and there's another theory that Vince made the call for AJ to lose the title at the last minute, and that was why the finish was botched. There's also talk that maybe Jericho coming back was a last-minute deal, and that's why Vince decided to change the finish, have Owens win the title, since that would make more sense with Chris Jericho coming back. Jericho would try to get the title from Owens. Maybe just to pop a rating, maybe just to get people tuning into SmackDown. I'm hopeful, though, that now the title will not change hands for a while. It's been going back and forth too much, and I would avoid doing it for a while. They did it at MSG, which made sense, but to have the title change at Battleground and then again on SmackDown Live, I think they're doing it too much now. So hopefully this was the last one for a while. This one comes from DJ Birdie Booster. Hey Aaron, am I the only one annoyed we never got any payoff from the Daniel Bryan and Miz storyline? I'm frustrated too. I think a lot of fans are. I think the problem is that WWE did too much teasing of the idea that Daniel Bryan would get back in the ring again. And normally WWE does not tease something that they cannot deliver. I think WWE did make a mistake in that sense. I like the idea of The Miz getting heat from Daniel Bryan, but fans were expecting a payoff. Fans were maybe hoping that Daniel Bryan would do something. I was thinking maybe at WrestleMania, Bryan could have come out after the referee took a bump and put on the referee's shirt and counted Miz out. Or maybe even just do one physical move to The Miz where Bryan was not putting himself at risk. Maybe just put the yes lock on The Miz, and that way fans could get a satisfying conclusion to that storyline, and fans could be satisfied with something at least. But WWE did nothing. So that was frustrating. I totally agree with the sympathies and people being upset about that. That'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ Video. Thanks again for watching. Again, please spread the word as we get closer to 1,000 episodes. Tell a friend on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, MySpace, any site you go on. Please keep spreading the word. Let's make 1,000 the biggest one yet. I will be answering a lot of questions on that episode. Also, I will be giving my proposed WrestleMania 34 card. Stay tuned for that. August 16th, episode number 1,000 of No DQ Video, and I will see you guys next time for episode number 992.